Okay, so every gamer requires a very powerful PC to pump up frames for his games such as Valorant and CSGO. But he also requires powerful peripherals to up his game. Therefore, we are here to review today's keyboard provided by ASUS. So this is ASUS Strix Scope RX, which is the optical-mechanical version of the original RX Scope. First things first, price. Wow, we are very surprised. We heard from Cheryl from ASUS that it's going to be less than Singapore $200. We are very surprised about it because initially we thought price is going to be closer to the keyboard such as the Razer Huntsman. So right now we're going to go through all of the special features that comes with this Strix Scope RX and show you how it sounds like, how it feels like, and whether is it a better version than the original Strix Scope. So let's carry on.
Okay, right, thanks Mel. So first off, from first glance, what you can see is that it's a pretty standard typical keyboard. It's got its numpads, doesn't really have any extra keys for like macros, that kind of thing. So it's a pretty standard minimalist keyboard, gets the job done. But the one thing that I did take note is that if you look right over here, you will notice one thing. Usually on most other keyboards, the control key is smaller than the shift key that's right above it. In this case, however, ASUS has elected to enlarge the control key to be about the same size as the shift key. The logic behind this is that in a lot of games, especially first-person shooters, the control key is usually mapped to something important. In a lot of FPS games, it's usually either to do with switching a mode or crouching, that kind of thing. Having an enlarged control key certainly does help with games like that. The second thing is that what I've been told is that this keyboard is IP56 water and dust resistant, so you don't have to worry about spilling your drinks or what may have you on the keyboard. You'll be fine.
Yeah, we're not going to test this.
Yeah, we're not gonna test this. If we did, I think Cheryl would kill us. Moving right along. So pretty standard. You got the two legs down here to open. Cool. Then there's the USB pass-through. So the USB pass-through is good for, like, let's say you want to hook up your mouse to the keyboard and then the USB cable goes to the keyboard itself. So this is good for certain situations like this. Maybe you want to plug your thumb drive down here, that kind of thing. So, okay. Then you will notice, other than that, there is one key that also is a little bit odd. You notice this little key down here with the guy with a little hood down there. ASUS material calls it the stealth key. As to what it actually does, we're gonna demo that feature in a bit. Before we do that, I will get into the main reason why you'll probably be considering an optical keyboard like this. The switches. Now, according to ASUS technical documents here, this is the ROG RX red switch, which according to here, this is that it's the world's first optical switch with a hollow square stem design. We'll look more into that later. And consistent wobble-free keystroke with 1 millisecond response and 100 million keystroke lifespan. When all that is said and done, you may be asking, so what's the difference between this and a typical mechanical keyboard? I'm going to answer that question for you because I'm going to bring out a pretty typical ordinary mechanical keyboard right over here. To showcase the optical switch with the hollow square design, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove the keys from here to here, the left key. First off, we have the mechanical keyboard right here. So right underneath, you have the Cherry MX Blue switch, and this is the key itself with the corresponding flip for the switch to fit into. So you can see that it sits on one central narrow point, the X down there. So in contrast, when you come over to the ROG, what you see is that instead of one single narrow point, what you see is 4 very well spaced hollows here, which correspondingly fit into these little pins right over here. What would be the net result of this design decision? So let's get into that. Put back the switch. Now, first off, we have the mechanical. So as you notice, as I press it down, you notice there's quite a fair bit of wobble. So you can see I can wobble quite a fair bit to the up, down, left, right. So yeah, very shaky, very wobbly. Yeah, the other keys also exhibit this behavior as well. Whereas if you come over to the ASUS, because of that particular hollow design, what happens is that when you press down, there's hardly any movement here, here, down, up. Same goes for all the other keys. It's very nice and very solid. So the net result of having the keys being more stable like that is that it reduces the instances of what I will probably term as miskeying. So that means like you key the thing when you actually don't really want to key it, and vice versa, that kind of thing. Press one time, sure footing, that key is what you want to press. The other net effect of an optical switch versus a mechanical switch like this one is the noise. So you can hear on this guy over here, it's a typical MX Blue sound, click clack click clack click clack, pretty noisy. Whereas on this guy down here, it's noticeably quieter. Yes, alright, as you can see from my demonstration just now, the overall net improvement that an optical switch has over the mechanical switch is that number one, you have less wobble, more stable keying and footing. The second thing is that you have noticeably less noise, which is always a good thing. Whether you're in an office environment or you're in a home environment, less noise coming out from your keyboard is always a good thing. So with that, I'll showcase that other feature that I mentioned just now, the stealth key right over here. So you may be wondering, what does it do? Let's get to it. Right, so now what we've done is that we have taken the keyboard and we've plugged it into my demo set right over here. Like a lot of other ASUS peripherals, it's controlled by the ASUS Armoury Crate software. Now, we've gone through that quite a couple of times in our previous reviews, so I'm just going to touch a bit on the features that are specific to this keyboard itself. So as you can see right over here, so you can map F1 to something else, so the keys are fully mappable. The one thing that is of note, especially to gamers, is that there is this option to disable either or both alternate tab or alternate F4. If you are the kind of gamer who has unintentionally rage quit out of a game before, you will begin to understand why having the ability to disable these two things is a godsend. Now I'm going to dive into a couple of the unique features of keyboard itself. One, which is ASUS terms the function lock. Now, what is that? Now, you'll notice that in a lot of modern keyboards today, the function keys share their purpose with some other actions as well. So, like case in point, the F9 key is also the mute button, the F10 key is the lower, the F11 is the raise the volume, and so on and so forth. Now, in a lot of typical keyboards, what usually happens is either of two things. Number one, when you press like this, it functions as F5. If you want to have it function as the play button, you have to press the function key and then you press this. Either that or it's the other way around, that this normally functions as the play key, but to use it as F5, you have to press this and like that. So what if you don't want to go through that the entire day or throughout your entire workflow? This is where function lock comes in. Now, when you do this, function, and then you press this thing, FN lock. Now, if you come look up at the screen down here, I'm gonna you'll see that the volume control doesn't work because they're now functioning as function keys. Now, if I repeat that action again, now you'll notice it has become a volume control key. So this basically locks it into one or two modes. One, it locks them as a whole row of function keys, or it locks them as a whole row of media control keys itself. Okay, so next we come to the stealth button. What does it do? We'll show you. So let's just say I'm making use of my brand new ROG Strix scope keyboard to play one of my favorite games, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And the stupid thing is I've decided to do this in the office. And I know that I have some deadlines due and my boss is gonna be chasing me if he sees me not doing my work. So let's just say I'm here playing my game anyway, and I suddenly see him coming from around the corner. So what do? I just press the stealth key. So you'll notice a couple of things. Number one, the game has minimized to the taskbar. And secondly, you've come to your desktop with absolutely nothing already. So what you can do is that before the boss actually comes over and looks over your screen, you can probably try and look for something important looking like an Excel spreadsheet so that he doesn't fire you for Skyping. And then after that, once he's gone, you press this key again. And the one thing you'll notice is, first, I'm back in the game. Secondly, I have not been dumped back into the game world itself. I've been dumped back into the options menu itself. So in a sense, it's like it pauses the game like that, which is good. Although I can't say that this is going to do anything for multiplayer titles, but for single player title, yeah, this is what it's going to do. This is another unique feature to the ASUS ROG Strix Scope keyboards, especially this new RX model.
So, Gordon, are you going to recommend this to your customers?
Well, based on my evaluation of the keyboard just now, so those features are things that I overall quite like, which kind of set this keyboard apart for either both the mechanical keyboards as well as the few other mechanical optical keyboards that are out there. So overall, what do I think of this keyboard? I think it's a pretty good keyboard. The design is very well done, especially the control key. That's one thing, you know, that this keyboard was designed for a gamer in mind. And yeah, the feel is very good, very stable. But the one thing that impressed me the most actually was what you mentioned in the earlier part of this video, which is that this thing is going to come in at a price of below SGD 200. Now, when you consider that in the field of optical keyboards, there aren't really that many out there on the market. One of them is what, the Huntsman, right?
Yeah, the Razer Huntsman.
Yeah, the Razer Huntsman. That one in Singapore goes for SGD 229. So that's above $200 already. So if this guy comes in for below 200, this is going to be a very competitive and very compelling option. Especially if you have an all ASUS setup, like let's say you have a ASUS PC with ASUS accessories, left, right, up, down, sensor with the Aura Sync and everything. Yeah, get this guys. With the RGB lighting and all that, it's gonna sync with everything. So with that in mind, yeah, I will give this keyboard a thumbs up. I will definitely recommend this to my customers, especially if they're asking me for an ASUS Team Rig. Because this will go very well with it.
Cool. Okay, so Gordon has given a thumbs up for this keyboard. So likewise, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up also. If you've not caught our various other ASUS videos, like all the motherboard videos, make sure to check those out. And yeah, make sure to check back to our channel because we're definitely going to have a lot more ASUS products to review. So if you don't miss any of that, make sure to come back to our channel. So from Gordon and I, yes, we love this keyboard and we say good night.